The mindful movement, unlocking ageless strength through somatic intelligence. After 60, something subtle begins to change. You may still be active. You may still walk, garden, travel, stretch, and do many of the same things you have always done. But movement starts to feel different, a little heavier, a little slower, a little less automatic. You notice it getting out of a chair, turning too quickly, walking on uneven ground, reaching overhead, stepping off a curb. And most people assume the answer is simple. I just need to get stronger. But strength is only part of the story. Because after 60, the real shift is not just in muscle. It is in how the brain and body organize movement together. That is where somatic intelligence comes in. Somatic intelligence is the body's ability to sense itself, respond to feedback, and adjust in real time. It is your awareness of body position, balance, tension, breathing, posture, and timing. And after 60, this system often becomes less precise. Not because the body is broken, but because sensory feedback becomes a little slower, a little less clear, and a little less efficient. That changes how movement feels. So today, we are not just talking about strength. We are talking about how to restore smoother movement, better balance, lower effort, and more trust in your body. Because real strength after 60 begins with awareness. Part 1. The body follows habit. Take a moment and notice your body right now. Are your shoulders slightly lifted? Is your jaw tight? Are you breathing shallowly? Are you leaning more onto one side? Are your toes gripping the floor? Most of these patterns are not conscious choices. The body settles into them. And over time, repeated patterns become the body's default. This matters because the body does not follow intention, it follows repetition. Years of sitting, rushing, guarding pain, avoiding certain movements, or carrying stress can teach the nervous system to move in a more protective way. Protective movement is not always bad, but when it becomes constant, it creates stiffness, fatigue, and reduced ease. This is why many people feel old in movement before they feel truly weak. The issue is often not just lack of muscle. It is a body that has learned to brace instead of flow. Part 2. The brain-body feedback loop. Every movement depends on a fast loop between the brain and the body. First, the brain predicts the movement. Then the body performs it. Then, sensory receptors in the muscles, joints, skin, and inner ear send feedback back to the brain. Then, the brain adjusts. This is called sensory-motor integration. When this loop is accurate, movement feels smooth and automatic. When the feedback becomes less precise, the brain becomes more cautious. And that caution often feels like stiffness. Research in aging shows that reaction time can slow, proprioceptive accuracy can decline, and balance systems become less efficient over time. Muscle power also declines faster than endurance, especially in the lower body. All of this makes the nervous system more careful. So the brain responds by tightening more, shortening steps, reducing speed, and limiting range of motion. That is not weakness, that is protection. But protection comes at a cost. It makes movement feel heavier. Part 3. Why ordinary movement feels more effortful. Think about the difference between walking on smooth pavement and walking on gravel. On smooth ground, movement is automatic. On gravel, you slow down, tighten up, and pay closer attention. Why? Because the nervous system has less certainty. That same loss of certainty can begin to happen in daily life after 60. The brain no longer fully trusts the body to react instantly, so it starts adding extra tension. Shoulders lift, hips tighten, steps shorten, breathing becomes shallow. That extra tension makes movement more expensive. In other words, the body starts using more effort to create stability that used to happen automatically. This is one reason people say, "I feel stiff all the time. I get tired so easily. My body feels cautious. I don't move naturally anymore." Often, the body is not failing. It is compensating. And compensation always costs more energy than coordination. Part 4. Proprioception, your internal GPS. One of the most important parts of somatic intelligence is proprioception. Proprioception is your internal GPS. It tells you where your body is in space without needing to look. It helps you know where your foot is, how bent your knee is, whether your weight is evenly distributed, whether you are stable or drifting off center. As we age, proprioceptive input can become less sharp. That means the body's internal map becomes a little fuzzier. And when that map is less clear, people begin to hesitate more. That hesitation can show up as slower walking, reduced confidence, balance changes, and greater effort in simple movement. But here is the good news. Proprioception can be trained. Slow, controlled movement improves sensory awareness. Balance work improves joint feedback. Repetition improves the brain's map of the body. This is why mindful movement works. It teaches the nervous system to feel clearly again. Part 5. Why slow movement rebuilds control. Modern fitness culture tends to glorify intensity. Fast, hard, explosive, sweaty. But the nervous system often learns best through slow, deliberate movement. When you move slowly, you notice more. You notice where you grip. You notice where you rush. You notice which side works harder. You notice where the breath stops. You notice where your body loses sequence. That awareness matters because the brain cannot improve what it cannot detect. Slow movement gives the nervous system time to process sensory information and make corrections. Research on motor control shows that slower, more deliberate movement can improve coordination, joint stability, and movement accuracy. It helps reveal inefficient patterns that fast movement tends to hide. Fast movement can cover mistakes. Slow movement exposes them. And once the body can feel the mistake, it can begin to change it. Part 6. The fascia connection. There is another layer to this story. Fascia. Fascia is the connective tissue network that wraps muscles, surrounds joints, and helps transfer force through the body. Healthy fascia has glide and elasticity. But with aging, inactivity, repetitive posture, and chronic tension, fascia can lose hydration and become less supple. That contributes to the feeling many people describe as, "I feel tight all the time. I feel glued together in the morning. I have to warm up just to feel normal." That feeling is not imaginary, and it is not always a simple stretching problem. It is often a tissue quality problem combined with a nervous system problem. Mindful movement helps because gentle motion, varied positioning, and controlled loading improves circulation, tissue glide, and the body's tolerance for movement. In plain terms, it helps the body stop treating motion like a threat. Part 7. Tension is not strength. Many people confuse tension with strength, but excessive tension is not true strength. True strength is the ability to create force when needed and release it when not needed. That distinction becomes critical after 60. If your shoulders are always braced, your neck works harder. If your hips are always tight, walking becomes less efficient. If your jaw is clenched, your whole nervous system stays more activated. If your lower back is constantly gripping, everyday movement becomes tiring. Excess tension wastes energy. It reduces fluidity. It narrows breathing.
it limits range of motion. Mindful movement teaches the body something powerful: how to engage only what is needed. That is real strength. Not full body gripping, not constant bracing, but intelligent control. Part 8. Breathing shapes movement. Breathing is not separate from movement. It helps organize movement. The diaphragm is not just a breathing muscle. It also supports trunk stability, pressure control, and coordination between the ribcage, spine, and core. When breathing becomes shallow or upper chest dominant, several things happen. The neck and shoulders overwork. The ribcage moves less well. Core stability becomes less efficient. The nervous system stays more alert. Movement becomes less coordinated. Research shows that breathing patterns affect posture, balance, and motor control. Better diaphragmatic breathing can improve trunk stability and reduce unnecessary tension. That is why mindful movement often includes breath. When breath improves, movement often feels steadier, smoother, and less tiring. Breath is not an accessory. It is part of the system.
Part 9. Why movement becomes mentally heavy. After 60, movement can become more mentally demanding. You start thinking about things you once did automatically. Stepping down, turning around, backing up, walking while carrying something, getting up from the floor. That mental supervision creates fatigue, not just muscular fatigue, neurological fatigue. The brain is doing more monitoring because it does not fully trust the movement to run on autopilot. Mindful movement helps rebuild that trust. The goal is not to think about your body forever. The goal is to restore enough coordination that movement becomes automatic again, reliable, steady, less mentally expensive. That is one of the hidden gifts of mindful movement. It reduces the cognitive burden of moving through daily life. Part 10. The confidence loop. Watch two people of the same age walk across a room. One looks guarded, tense, and hesitant. The other looks relaxed, steady, and fluid. The difference is not always muscle mass. Often, it is confidence in the movement system. Confidence is not just emotional, it is biological. When the brain trusts the body, it reduces unnecessary guarding. When guarding reduces, movement becomes smoother. When movement becomes smoother, fear decreases. When fear decreases, confidence grows. That creates a loop. Better movement reduces fear. Reduced fear reduces tension. Less tension improves coordination. Better coordination builds confidence. This matters because fear of falling or fear of instability can quietly shrink a person's life. They stop using stairs. They stop walking on uneven ground. They avoid getting on the floor. They move less. And less movement weakens the exact systems they need most. Mindful movement interrupts that cycle before it becomes a trap. Part 11. What changes with practice? When practiced consistently, mindful movement can begin changing the system within weeks. In the first week, awareness improves. You start noticing tension, breath holding, and imbalance. In the second week, coordination improves. Simple transitions feel smoother. Walking may feel slightly lighter. In the third week, posture often becomes more natural, not forced, just better organized. By the fourth week, many people notice reduced stiffness, better balance, and more confidence in everyday movement. These changes are subtle, but subtle is not the same as small. Because small improvements in daily movement can protect energy, independence, and quality of life. Part 12. Why this protects longevity. Mindful movement supports longevity because it improves the quality of everyday function. Efficient movement reduces joint strain. Better balance lowers fall risk. Improved coordination makes daily tasks safer. Reduced tension lowers wasted energy. Better breathing supports nervous system regulation. And when movement feels safer, people move more. That matters because regular movement supports circulation, muscle maintenance, cognition, mood, and sleep. So this is not just about graceful movement. It is about protecting independence. After 60, the wisest movement strategy is not always harder. It is often smarter. After 60, strength is not just about pushing harder. It is about sensing better, breathing better, timing better, adjusting better, trusting your body again. Because when the body understands itself, movement becomes easier. Effort decreases, confidence returns, stiffness softens, balance improves. That is real strength. Not just force, but control, awareness, adaptability. So if movement has started feeling heavier or less certain, do not assume your body is simply falling apart. Sometimes it is not asking for more force. Sometimes it is asking for better information. That is the power of somatic intelligence. It reminds us that the body is not just something to push. It is something to listen to, train wisely, and reconnect with. If you want, comment movement, and I'll share a simple mindful movement routine you can start today. And next, we'll move into something practical. A simple 5-minute morning reset to help your body wake up with more ease. Until then, stay re-inspired.
I hope this video brought you value and re-inspired you. If so, please subscribe, hit like, and leave a comment. And if anybody you know could use a little re-inspiration, please send it to them. Thank you so much for watching.